Since we recorded the podcast you're about to watch, Greg has surpassed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's very knowledgeable, obviously, about YouTube and the online space. So make sure you grab a pen, grab a notepad, and let's get into it.
Basically help businesses consistently make videos that get views and attract leads on social media. So my focus is using SEO to get the views, using AI to kind of find shortcuts and ways to save time in the video creation process so that we can make videos faster, so make more videos and basically scale out our video creation. So that's what I do on the professional side of things. Personal side, I'm a YouTuber myself. I think that's how you came across me, Ollie. Been doing YouTube myself for about 6 years now, and just about to hit 100,000 subs on my own channel.
Amazing, amazing. So before we dive like into kind of like where you're at now and kind of like what's going on, talk to me a little bit more about like how you got here. Like what was you doing before like you jumped into the YouTube space? I know that like me, you've been doing it a long time, so it probably feels like forever
Mm.
ago. But what was you doing before, and how did you kind of stumble across the whole kind of like YouTube and online space?
Yeah, I'm just thinking how far to go back here. So yeah, I started YouTube 6 years ago. Before that, I was just like working 9 to 5 job. I was living down in London, doing the typical rat race. I'd been out of uni. I just moved this. Been out of uni and working for like 4 or 5 years and just like wasn't happy. Like I'd been jumping from job to job, thinking it was just the job I was in that wasn't really working for me. But then after a while, I had to just come to the terms and accept the fact that I just didn't really like working for other people in general. I wanted to do my own thing. So when I started my channel, it was alongside me quitting my job and just kind of like running away on a round the world trip to starting off in Canada. I took my camera with me, and literally the day after I arrived in Canada, I filmed my first video for the YouTube channel and started the YouTube channel at the same time as this kind of like new chapter of my life. And the whole purpose of the channel was I knew I wanted to become more independent, probably more entrepreneurial. And the channel was there in the early days to hold myself accountable. My thinking was if I tell the world that I'm going to do this thing and I put it out there, I'm way more likely to see it through because I feel like the world is watching me and will be judging me if I don't do that thing. So at the start, it was very much a blog kind of accountability thing.
Interesting, interesting. And I mean, one thing I'll pick up on there is like the change of environment. How how did you kind of think of that, or was it like subconscious that you was like, you know what, I need if I'm gonna do this, I need to change my environment.
Yeah, well, I'd already done one round the world trip when I
Oh, okay.
first when I first came out of uni, and then I come back and I was working for like 4 or 5 years after that, and just it's like, oh, I wasn't happy. When was I last happy? When I was traveling, when I was backpacking. So I just, yeah, it was a separation, change environment, clean start.
Okay, interesting. And like for people that kind of are working like a normal job at the moment, and like they're looking to get into like the creative space or even just like online stuff in general, what do you think is like a good path for that? Because I know, you get there's a lot of part-time creators, there's a lot of people that have the ambition to make it a full-time thing, right? But
Mm.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff online of like kind of like false expectations for people of like, oh, just I know that's what you did, and I mean I did it in the past as well, like just quitting your job and just going for it. But
Hmm.
what's your opinion on that? Like, where do you feel like someone should be at, or what do you think something that they should kind of have done before they kind of just say, you know what, I'm quitting my job, I'm going for it, or do you think that is a kind of viable path?
I would never say just quit your job and jump into something 100% when you've not proven that there is potential with that thing you're jumping into. Even when I started my YouTube channel and I was backpacking, I was still working like labor jobs. I was a waiter and I was working on a construction site. Like I was still getting money coming in from these other income sources.
Mm.
And then when I came back to the UK, I went to uni, so I got like government support to get through uni. So I was building my side hustle, my YouTube channel, my business, online business up alongside like stable sources of income coming in, doing what I do for, the amount of time I've been doing it. I have come across a lot of people working 9 to 5, frustrated, want to become an entrepreneur, an online entrepreneur, and they just clean cut themselves from the job. They quit and they jump into entrepreneurship. And after 3, 4 months, they run out of money. The business hasn't like blown up and done anywhere near what they thought it would be, and it's nowhere near self-sustaining. And then they end up having to go back to work, unhappily. So I'd never recommend that. I think it takes people a lot longer to get an online business set up than they think it's going to.
Mhm.
Um, and you're in a much better place if you're not worrying about money while you're building that online business and that online brand versus if you're stressing out about money and you've got this pressure to make things work and you're maybe making decisions out of necessity rather than like passion and like creativity. So I'd
Mm.
just say do it alongside. Do the side hustle alongside your stable income until you've passed a certain point where that side hustle can provide you a living salary.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's super important just to. I mean, the whole thing of like if you work for someone else 8 hours a day, surely you can spend an hour, 2 hours a day building this thing alongside of that until you at least get some sort of traction or validate it a little bit that you kind of take that plunge.
Yeah, and once like the side hustle starts bringing some money in, like you could always downscale your full-time job to a part-time job, and just do it incrementally, shift that balance until you're making enough from the side hustle that you can stop working for other people altogether.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So with like how everything's going at the moment, like from building the YouTube channel yourself, but then working with other brands, what do you enjoy about working with other brands, and how did you kind of come to that
The money.
realization? The money,
No, I'm joking.
of
Carry on.
course. But it's interesting to me, right? Because like very similar to you to yourself, as in like I always look back at things I've done in the past of like I've always been trying to build my own stuff, but then working with other people and stuff with on a creative standpoint, I personally always like still find it hard to like find that balance of like I'm either working with
Mm,
clients or I'm working on my own stuff. Like
mm.
how do you kind of deal with that with like having your own like schedule with your personal stuff, but working with clients, you've got deadlines, you've got expectations, etc.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I have found it really difficult along my journey, and I'm starting to get a hold on it now. I really think it's a skill that you have to develop. How can I break this down? I have on my to-do list today to set my goals for February, kind of what I want to achieve, and underneath that is like set a rota for the month of February of like how am I going to achieve what I want to achieve alongside the client work that I have to do or I'm trying to win. And I break it down to that like granular level just so I know how much time I've got available to offer out to clients and how much time it's going to take me to get what I want to get done, and I can come into the month knowing that time split that I have available. Um, it really comes with a sense. It comes with developing a level of discipline, like being able to say no to some client work that's coming in if it's going to take up way more time than you know you're going to actually have in the month. And it also comes up with a level of experience. Like the more you understand yourself, how long it's going to take you to get something done, whether it's client work or your own stuff, the better you can become at planning your time in the future. So I would just advise people to not expect it to be a perfect thing at the very start, to go into this world of doing your own stuff versus managing client work with a open mind that you're going to get better at that and learn more about the requirements and what is and isn't possible during that time, and just kind of develop that skill over time to a point where you um, have a once again have a healthy work-life balance. It doesn't come straight away.
Interesting. I'm going to ask a bit of maybe a potentially a stupid question, but it's a question that I feel like some people do have on their mind. And with you working with brands, but then also building your own personal brand,
Mm.
if if you was just like if you was working a normal job at the moment and you had neither of those right now, what would you say is the more important thing to get started on? Like would you go and think, I'm going to try and start working with brands, or I'm going to build like my own stuff, the personal brand, and then essentially be able to leverage that to get clients?
Mm, yeah, it's a good question. Well, I don't think a brand's going to work with you if you've got nothing to show them, or like, no proof of what your skills are or what your offerings are. So having the personal brand, having like a portfolio that you can show helps you get your foot in the door and helps you start this conversation. So looking at it that way, maybe the personal brand needs to come first. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think personal brand all day, as well as doing like free work for companies, right? But that then kind of towers into your personal brand, and you can kind of document that on your own channel. Like, I helped this particular person achieve X, is like even just content ideas for yourself.
Mm,
Um, I always would say personal brand first to some. Well, I mean, yeah, it's hard because obviously in an ideal world you do both in parallel, right? You kind of document your doing work for someone,
hmm.
and you kind of get both things going at once. But it's obviously hard to focus on that, especially if you have got a 9 to 5 job as well.
Yeah,
I actually got a 9 to 5 job um, by using one of my YouTube videos. So
nice.
I always like, personal branding is like massive. Like, I applied for a job and sent them one of my YouTube video. Sorry, I actually created a YouTube video, created a video specifically for this company when I
Okay.
was applying for the job. So for me, like in my head, I was like, no one else is doing that. So I think like if you take personal branding to another, and the thing is like, we're like in this generation now of like, LinkedIn is like everyone's subconsciously got a personal brand, whether they make like,
Mm,
whether they intentionally like put content out or not, even if
yeah.
it's just like the post that they fucking share on LinkedIn or they retweet or stuff like that, right? So it's like, even if your goal is to just like climb the corporate ladder and be like the top of like an already established business, you're going to be using your personal brand to do that. Like, people are going to notice what you're doing. So I definitely think personal branding
Mm.
is like a massive asset.
In hindsight, I think I am looking at this as well through my own lived experience. Like, just to provide some context to your viewers, the services I offer brands, well, first off, I offer them, brands come to me because they want me to make a promoted video on my channel. The fact that I have a channel, is the reason that I get those opportunities. So I was definitely looking at it with that in mind when I gave my answer. But
Mm,
also a service I give brands is I do coaching and consulting to help them understand how to get views on YouTube and how to repurpose those videos onto LinkedIn, TikTok, and how to get sales through YouTube. And I can only offer that service having done that myself for my own brand in the past. So that's
mm,
why I say, like, my first instinct is you need a personal brand to get your foot in the door because I'm offering the services that my personal brand is all about. I guess an exception to that rule, like say you've come from a job where you've worked in like marketing for 10 years and you've left that job and you now want to start doing freelance work and also build a personal brand, you probably could get some freelance work without the personal brand because you've got 10 years of experience on your CV to show for it. So I think it's contextual of like what sort of work you're trying to get and what brand to expect to see from you in order to like for you to have their interest.
yeah, absolutely. But I suppose even with that being said, like, you got 10 years experience doing marketing for this company, like
Mm,
you've somewhat got a personal brand. Like, if you can articulate that when speaking to that brand, like that is your personal brand, right? So
yeah.
personal branding in general, I think, is just fucking super interesting because it's kind of like you quite literally are the brand. So it's like, whether you are in marketing or you're in like any other industry, as long as you can portray like your expertise in it, it doesn't really matter.
Mm,
um but yeah, so that's really interesting. Going back into kind of like the YouTube space and like how you're now working with clients, what's your most enjoyable part? Like, do you do you like working with brands, or are you doing that as like a, or you mentioned money earlier, right? Of course, we all
yeah.
want to make, we all want to make more money and do less work in reality, right?
Sure.
You obviously find that fulfilling to some extent, right? So, I love working with brands as well and seeing, like, I think as
Yeah.
YouTubers or creators, like, we like building things, whether that's for ourselves or others. So,
Mm.
what do you enjoy most about like working with other people, and what, like, not, don't want to say what do you prefer, because you obviously like both of them, otherwise you wouldn't be doing it,
Mm.
right? But like, what kind of inspired you to kind of work with these brands as well as building the channel alongside it?
There's two questions there. What do I like about it, and what inspired me to make the move? So I'll answer what I like about it first. Yeah, you're right. Like, it's great building stuff in general, whether it's building my own stuff or building for other brands. And having done my own channel for like 6 years, even though I'm coming up with new video ideas all the time, there is some repetition there. You know, the video making process, the topics, and the general niche that I'm plucking ideas out of to put onto my channel. Whereas if I start helping other brands in completely different niches with completely different audiences, it's kind of like starting a completely new channel, you know, and starting completely fresh with a new challenge.
Mhm.
So it definitely gives variety to what I do every day for my own content, which is something I really enjoy. And I also just really like it when you get like a banger, you get a really good result for a client, and just kind of seeing how happy they are and kind of the appreciation, like, you know, because there's the feeling that they wouldn't have got there without you, and it's really nice to kind of see them kind of happy with like the service you provided them and the results they're getting. So yeah, that's really nice. On to what inspired me to start working with brands. I joked about money earlier, but I mean that's definitely a big incentive. Like, uh, there's only so much money you can make unless you're like Mr. Beast or KSI or Sidemen go massively viral. Like, there's only gonna be so much money you're gonna make off ad revenue, and even if you plug in like affiliate marketing or product sales into your channel, there's a cap. But working with clients, and if you go for like high net worth clients, that's a really high potential additional revenue stream you can add into your business. So there was definitely an incentive there to take things to the next level. Um, and secondly, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Um, when I quit my job and I went traveling, I knew I wanted to become independent. And I kind of, even though the channel was going great and I was like self-sufficient, I saw myself as like a content creator. I didn't really feel like I was like stretching my entrepreneurial chops, you know, or like becoming uh, a recognized or like approved entrepreneur. I was just like a content creator, and I'd returned to uni to do a postgrad in entrepreneurship after that trip around Canada. So I really wanted to feel like I was exploring that area. So building like an agency and starting doing client work was me venturing into that side of things I wanted to explore more too.
You mentioned you saw yourself as a content creator. What do you see
Mm.
yourself as today?
An entrepreneur who is shit hot at content creation and marketing. I hope you don't mind me
Nice.
swearing. I don't know.
No.
Yeah,
Go for it. Go for it.
I think
Interesting.
marketing is such a valuable skill for an entrepreneur to have, and I think those first 4 or 5 years of being a content creator really developed that skill for me uh, to plug into the full
Mm,
skill set.
amazing.
What
Amazing.
do you reckon to that breakdown? Does that make sense?
No, I find it really interesting, right? Because the word content creator is such a, it's almost become like a bit of a buzzword, right? Of like, I'm a content creator. It's like, okay, cool, but what content do you create? And it's like,
Mm,
you're not the creating content. And like you said, you're an expert at X, Y, and Z that creates content. And yeah, it's always interesting, right? Because I truly believe like the way that you the way that you kind of think about yourself is the way that you act in alignment too. As in, like, if you just see yourself as a content creator, then you wouldn't be like, have that entrepreneurial mindset of like, oh shit, I could do this for businesses. and become an
Mm.
actual business owner rather than just, seeing yourself, oh, I'm a YouTuber. It's like, no, you're a business owner that utilizes YouTube to increase your ability to work with more
Yeah.
clients, right? So it's super
Yeah,
interesting.
it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? You
Mm,
become what you see yourself as.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Um, Going back into like the actual content creation side of things. I mean, before we jumped on this call, when we jumped on this call, you mentioned I've had an early morning to because I knew I had to get this video done. So
Sure.
talk to me a little bit about that discipline, that dedication. You don't have someone like you would at a 9 to 5 saying you need to do this today. Yeah. uh,
Yeah.
and what's like some non-negotiables for you?
Yeah, so the discipline, just like the being able to manage client work alongside your own work, like was a skill I had to learn and develop. The discipline of like actually putting in sufficient amount of working hours into the day as a self-employed person is a skill I had to develop as well. Um, when I came out of uni, like I'd been doing YouTube here and there while traveling and while I was doing my postgrad, but when I came out of uni, I didn't have any other stuff to focus on. It this was all I had to focus on. Um, and that period, I was really undisciplined. Like I maybe do a YouTube video, spend 4 hours on a YouTube video one day, have like 2 days off, spend a day, after that doing some YouTube stuff. There's no consistency and no discipline, and nowhere near like the standard 40-hour working week that people in the 9 to 5 do. And that got even worse during lockdown. Like I was just on like Xbox like 8 hours, 10 hours a day playing Call of Duty, like days without working. Um, so over time, and I guess yeah, that eventually comes to bite you in the ass. Like your finances go down, you realize that that isn't the way that people achieve success. I just realized that that was a bad behavior that I needed to get out of. So I basically said to myself, I'm just going to do exactly what people in a 9 to 5 do, and just force myself to at least work a 40-hour week. So I started doing that. To my surprise, I actually went the other way. I pendulum swung to overworking and becoming burnt out. After that, I was doing like 10, 12-hour days after a while. So I went the other extreme of just like no discipline around my time. And it's only actually recently in the last like 8 months where I've actually become strict the other way. And I'm now strictly 9 to 6, Monday to Friday. I don't work evenings. I don't work weekends. Those are the hours I work. And no one can like tempt me or pull me to do otherwise. But yeah, it's taken time to get to where I am now for sure.
Interesting. And with like all that kind of being said, what does your perfect day like? What does your ideal day look like?
Mm. In terms of like hours worked, or in terms of what
No,
I get
just
done, or
just generally like what if you I know you mentioned you work at 9, you work at 6, like
yeah,
when you log off at 6
yeah.
and uh, you shut that laptop, right? What have you done throughout that day for you to sit down and probably say, you know what, that was a fucking good day?
Mm. Okay. Ideal day would be I've made some money and I have used my creativity. So what I do in my working week, the first hour every day is my money making hour. That is like money making tasks go into that hour, whether it's like a sales call, whether it's putting out like a lead magnet that I'm going to use to get leads. Like that hour is dedicated to making money.
Mhm.
And then in an ideal world, I'd be doing creative stuff on my channel. So like coming up with video ideas, filming, editing. Obviously, life isn't a fairy tale. We have to work and make and run a business. So I have to fit client work into there too. So my days usually alternate between a day of doing my stuff or versus a day doing client stuff. But it will always start with that money making hour as the first hour.
Right, nice. And
Yeah.
it seems like you've kind of built that kind of routine around like work and play. Like what do you do when you're not working? Like how do you switch off?
Yeah, I love rock climbing. I'm really into rock climbing, so I do that like
Interesting.
2, 3 times a week. Um, Try to go to the gym either at lunch or after work. And to be honest, like because I had my head in the sand trying to build this business for so long, for like 2, 3 years, my social life and my like relationships like took a back seat. Over that time, I really just realized I just love like socializing and being around people that I like. So I just try and arrange things with friends or with family, like going out to like for a restaurant, getting together for an activity in the evening. If I'm not with my girlfriend, like just me and her, I'll be just be planning that sort of stuff out with friends and family. Do you have any problems switching off, or are you pretty good at it? And if when you do, how do you switch off?
I think as creators, like you're never really switched off. Like I almost guarantee you're out of fucking dinner and someone says something, you're like, that's a good idea.
Mm,
So yeah, it's definitely something that I struggle with to some extent. But for me, like going to the gym is a big thing of just like
mm,
when I'm in the gym, it's just like that's my main focus. And I think like the discipline of going to the gym as well kind of just like helps that knock-on effect of like I know when I'm in the gym, I'm working out. I know when I'm
yeah,
in my office, I'm working. I know when I'm on the sofa, I'm chilling. I know when I'm at
sure.
my dinner table. So that's why I was asking about like your environment and like why you moved to somewhere else to like pursue this new thing. So I personally
Yeah,
think it's so important to like have like these dedicated zones. Like where even if you're in like
for
a
sure.
yeah, even if you're in like a one bedroom flat, I feel like it's like this is my reading chair. This is my uh note. This is my coming up with YouTube ideas fucking position at the end of your bed. Like, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
just having these like clear things in your mind of like, this is the use case that I get out of this place.
I completely buy into that. Like, I'm in my house now, but I'm in my office, and
Mm.
this is just where I do stuff on the computer and I film. And I also have a co-working space I'm going to after this, where
Oh, cool.
I actually prefer to work because there's other people there, and I just know that when I'm there, I'm working. Um, but yeah, back to my house, like I found that I need to carve out a space like this, like the office, because when I finish at 6, I shut the door, the office is closed off to the rest of the apartment, and then I'm in my apartment to relax. This is the place where I am to unwind and chill. Like, I don't want to bring the feeling of work following me around, so I can physically shut work away from me. And I just
Yeah.
want to talk to you about, like, you said I'm at dinner, like thinking about stuff and not really shutting off. I've actually found that 8 months ago when I decided to make that decision of like, I'm not working the evenings, I'm not working weekends, I'm not just going to dip in and out of little tasks. My success financially has increased, and
Mm.
also my productivity has increased since I adopted that. And the reason being, why I think this is the case is during those 8, 9 hours, I am actually working now versus 12, 14 hours. I'm so much more alert and switched on and not like washed out that the work I'm doing is like impactful work compared to like it's like 8 hours of impactful work compared to 12 hours or 14 hours of like um just like low impact, or automated, uncreative, like unpassionate work.
It, it's kind of like, sorry to jump in, but it's kind of like you said, when someone is I think there was a study recently that was like talking about like people in the office and shit, and it's like it was like around like working people that work from home and stuff like that, and it's like the average employee in an office does like 2 hours of work while they're at their
Yeah,
job, like because they're just like, oh, I'll go get a fucking cup of coffee or I'll speak to Janice in finance and like, do you know what I mean? Whereas like
yeah,
I think that that's so important of like, yeah, if you give yourself 8 hours to do something, it's going to take you 8 hours. If you give yourself an
yeah.
hour to do something, it's going to take you an hour. So it's really important.
And I also add to that quickly is when I was working like 12, 14-hour days, I was really like on autopilot. I was on a routine. Like I had a schedule for the day I was following. I'm doing this and I'm doing that, then I'm doing that. And by the time I was finishing like 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, I was so just like exhausted. I just conk out and go to sleep. But what I find now that I have my evenings and my weekends back, I'll be like out for a run, or I'll be, 2 meters up a climbing wall, and I'll just get hit with inspiration. Like, oh my God, like that's a really good idea for my business, and that would be make a massive impact in March. And I get hit with these moments of like creativity and inspiration in my free time that I just wasn't getting when I was just like working every waking hour of the day.
Mm.
And I found that like so useful.
As a creative, do you feel like on the back of that, do you feel like you need to be super rigid when it comes to like coming up with ideas? Like I know you said you have like blocked out carved time for like income producing activities in the morning,
Yeah.
but do you what's your opinion on that? Do you kind of rely on like you said, you're out and about, boom, this comes to me, or is it like I need to come up with some ideas and I'm going to block out time to do so?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, really. I think creativity comes from everywhere. Like, creativity can come from random, unexpected inspiration. Like, I could be watching a movie and then I see like an edit, or I see like a way a sentence was written. And I'm like, oh, that's a really great way to write a hook into my script, or that's a really good transition. I could put, and I wasn't expecting or searching for that inspiration, but I
Yeah,
found it in my free time. But on the flip side, you can also be creative through planned creativity. You can sit down for 2 hours and say, all right, I'm going to do some competitive research. I'm going to look at what videos are popping off this week, what trends there are. And that gives you ideas and that gives you creativity too. So I try to schedule time for that stuff, but I also try and give myself time where I've got nothing planned and there's no agenda, to get hit by those random moments of inspiration as well.
yeah, super important. My missus absolutely hates me when we're like watching Netflix and it's like that's an amazing shot. Like that's
Yeah.
a yeah, oh what that's a did you see that transition? She's like, no, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
And even
Um
like the little images they have on the browsing screen, like that would make a really good thumbnail. Like
yeah.
that really brought my attention into that show. Yeah.
Well, say that. Do you know what one thing absolutely done me recently on Netflix? I can't even remember what the film's called, but it has I can't even think of what his name is. It has Post Malone in it, the
Hmm.
like the singer guy, and
Yeah.
like on the Netflix. I've watched the film by the way. Like Post Malone is in it for about a minute, right? But
Yeah.
on the Netflix home screen, Post Malone is on the thumbnail, and I was like, interesting because like someone's gonna click on that like, oh, Post Malone's in this film and he's in it
For
for
sure.
30 seconds, and I just think yeah, even that, like you just think of like those clickbaity type thumbnails. And I even noticed that with Netflix that you see them like changing the thumbnail like
Yeah.
every so often, and it's like there's films that I've watched and then like I'm scrolling through Netflix, probably wasting a bunch of time as we all do. And then I'm like, oh shit, what's that? And it's like a film I've already watched, but they've changed
Yeah.
the thumbnail on it.
Sure. I even read somewhere, I'm pretty sure that I read this, that Netflix changes the cover images for shows depending on the person using Netflix. Like they know from your
Mm,
previous browsing history, like kind of what you're interested in, type of actors that you like, and they'll change the image they decide to show you for a show depending on your individual profile. It's crazy.
interesting. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They know what they're
That
doing.
that I mean, they must have so much back end stuff going on. To be fair, they're just like, yeah, probably just knows what you want to watch before
Yeah.
you want to watch it. When it comes to YouTube and like now this creative side of the business, what's your opinion on like scaling? Like, do you have a team? Like, do you plan on kind of like scaling it, or is it just kind of
Mm.
like you know what, I want to live my life how I want to live my life, and this allows me to do it the way I want to do it. Like, are you kind of like, I want to grow something huge, or is it like just like a lifestyle business? Because that's definitely something I've kind of struggled with. Of like, I felt like back in the day, I was like, I want to have a massive team, and I'm like, I don't want to manage a team. Like, I'd
Yeah.
much prefer to do it myself.
I have had a team in the past and I've gone back to a one person business at the moment. But to answer the question, yeah, there's pros and cons of both approaches, isn't there? I think when you have a personal brand and that personal brand is being used to win a lot of work, it kind of puts you at the center of your business where, someone hired my coaching package or my services, they're going to expect me to be doing that work for them. because I'm the face they've seen when they've been introduced to my business. And there's probably ways I can mitigate that and handle that, so it doesn't have to be the case. But that's definitely a variable that factors into things. I It goes back to skills, like the skill of time discipline, the skill of knowing how to split between client work and your own work. Like these are all skills I feel you have to develop. And yeah, I think the skill of hiring a team is a skill you need to develop too. The first time round when I tried to hire a team, I lost a ton of money. I just didn't know how to approach that properly. I was throwing money at something that wasn't working. I had ineffective like systems and processes, and it came to the point I realized I was hemorrhaging money. This wasn't a sustainable business model. I had to go back to basics. I do eventually want to go back to doing that because I am still at that mindset where I want to grow something big here.
Mm.
Um, but I've learned from the mistakes of my past, and I know that when I come to doing that again, how I'm going to approach that differently and where I need to be financially and also systematically in my business to make that work next time.
What is the goal? Like, I know you said like where your
Mm,
kind of days are at the moment,
yeah,
because I think with YouTube, obviously, like you get 1 million subscribers, you can always get two, right? And it's the
yeah, yeah.
same with money. Like you get to 20K a month, and you can always get to 40K a month. What is I know it's quite hard to say as an end goal because I think as a
Mm.
creator, like the creating is the goal to some extent.
Like you, I have a value of like, I'm drawn to the appeal of lifestyle businesses. I have a value of like not stretching myself too thin and not overexerting myself. In an ideal world, I would be able to work 2 days, 2.5 days on client work, 2 days, 2.5 days a week on my own stuff. So I really kind of want to push my business as far as I can financially while still maintaining that split. I only need to give 2 days to the business to clients, and or 2.5 days to the clients, and 2.5. I live to have 2.5 days to do my own thing. Um, if the business grew so much that I wasn't able to have that balance anymore, then I wouldn't be in my place of zen, and I'd start to be unbalanced. So it's adding systems, adding leverage, adding employees as much as I can, and like streamlining and like just really having my business dialed in so that I can push the finances as hard as I can while staying true to that kind of balance of time, I think.
What's your kind of like current views on YouTube and where it's going? Like, I know you've been on the platform for a while.
Yeah,
Obviously about to hit 100K. Congrats, by the way.
thanks,
Um,
man.
what's kind of like your opinion on like the whole YouTube space? Because I think like recently as well, I've seen. I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen like the whole trend of like these big YouTubers like saying they're quitting. I'll be honest,
Yeah.
I haven't actually watched any of those videos, so but I have seen like the trend with it. Like, is that something that you see yourself doing for the long haul, or is it just like the vehicle to get you to where you want to be?
Yeah. Now that I see my YouTube channel more as a marketing arm of my business, I can see myself doing it indefinitely because the more time I put to the channel, the more successful my business is going to be. What we're seeing a lot with the bigger creators who are quitting is, they started 8, 10 years ago. And part of the key to success with YouTube is once you've found something that works, you keep doing that thing over and over again. MKBHD does tech reviews. Mr. Beast does huge scale like videos. So that's what people do. They repeat the formula. And I think a lot of those people quitting is they felt like they had just like dug themselves into such a deep hole doing this one thing that they weren't being creatively fulfilled anymore, and also they had such a high they like ramped their production quality and their um release schedule to like such heights that they were just like burnt out from working so much. So I think as long as I have personally the connection of YouTube videos equals business growth, that's always going to maintain me to like keep creating. And as long as I keep my work-life balance in check and don't get burnt out, I could do this indefinitely. How about yourself? Like, I'm interested to hear. You mentioned lifestyle business, like what exactly that looks like for you, your business for you, and then also what you see your involvement with content creation in the future being too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and like you said about like Mr. Beast, right? And it's kind of like, how much money can I spend on this video to make it an absolute banger, which I love, but it's not how I see YouTube. And I think
Mm.
I think there's kind of like there's definitely more than two avenues with YouTube, but it's like, yeah, like you get that kind of entertainment standpoint, whereas like me and you are more so on like
Education.
yeah, like your education, like your how-to tutorial based content and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I think, you know, that where kind of like software and kind of like everything that's becoming available, we're somewhat always going to have new stuff to talk about, right? Because, you know, you made your YouTube channel however many years ago. ChatGPT didn't exist then. Versus
Mm.
today, it's like, well, this is how you use ChatGPT to do X, Y, Z. But
Yeah.
it's like Mr. Beast could have made the, I'm not even can't even think of like some of his titles, but like, you know, I gave 20 people a car. Like he could have made
Mm.
that when Henry Ford made the first car. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, but of course, with those side of things, like the ideas are just getting so crazy. So I
Yeah.
feel like push comes to shove, like I'm a YouTube lover. And
Mm.
like I like both sides of it, right? And I think you've also got like people that might make that how-to content where it's like how to make 100 grand a month, and it's like cool. You know, there's a lot of scammy shit with like that type of content as well, right?
Yeah.
But also there is people that have genuinely done it and want other people to succeed. So I think it's really interesting, and I think for me it's the same as you, man. It's just like I'm a creative person and I want to be able to leverage my creativeness to bring more money into the business, and that
Yeah.
looks different in so many different ways, right? Even like the fact that me and you are on this call today is a fact that like I don't necessarily just want to make videos myself. Like I want to speak to other people that are doing
Mm.
similar and inspire other people to take action. Like that's the whole reason
Sure.
I started this. And it's like, yes, you can have like these core values of like, hey, this is me and this is who I want to help, but I can also go and do this. And I think it goes back to like kind of like you are the niche. So it's like I definitely fell somewhat victim to that with like YouTube in the past. Like I don't but I started in the gym. Like that's when I first like, well, I had a channel before that, but like when I first started like consistently making videos, like I was working in the gym and it was just like really crap, like kind of vloggy stuff of like me just pissing about while working the
Yeah.
gym versus then kind of like pivoting today or to today where it's like the complete opposite of that.
There's like an evolution there, like a transition. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've matured and realized what works and what you enjoy doing more.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it's also like you said, like a video that does really well. It's kind of hard to then see that video do really well and be like, okay, but today I'm gonna make a video that has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But then also finding a balance of like, well, realistically, I should make similar videos to that because that's clearly what the audience likes.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's like if Mr. Beast next week made a football review video, like people would be, what the hell is this? And after 2 or 3 weeks, he probably would have like slashed his viewership by down to like 5%.
Yeah.
So there is a pressure for creators to continue doing what they're known for and what works. But then, you probably learned from me from this talk. I try and organize and plan things out. Like, I think you can have planned experimentations on your channel too. Like, every 1 in 5 video might be a completely different experiment that you put out there. And if it doesn't work, you never do it again. And then the next fifth video, you try a different one. I think we need to experiment and grow and evolve to stay passionate as creators.
Do you have like hard, how do I put this? I mean, I just said you are the niche, right? So like you said, you're not gonna come out tomorrow and make a video of you. I tried to do 20,000 kick ups, right?
Mm.
But like I'd say like if you was to like do a video and incorporate like you rock climbing and stuff like that, like I personally as a viewer, like would like I wouldn't I'd like that, right? Because it's
Yeah.
building that kind of personal connection. Maybe it's like your AI tutorial but then it's also like a little cut scene in that is like telling a
Yeah.
story of you like rock climbing while you're doing it, and then like linking in that AI side of things as well. Do you have like any like hard guidelines in the sense of like, no, like this is who my viewers, this is what who my viewers are, and these are the type of videos I need to make, and you kind of ground
Hmm.
stuff around that, or is it just kind of like free for all in a sense?
I have got hard guidelines in terms of knowing who my viewer is and what they're trying to achieve. But then the videos I make that help them achieve that thing, uh, they it's whatever works best, you know. And there's room for experimentation there. At the moment, because I'm in like heavy build mode with my business, I'm a little bit
Mm.
lazy with the video creation. It's just kind of like sit down, do a tutorial video through my webcam because it's easy to make and it seems to be getting decent views. But you're right, like as long as I was delivering the same value, so in my case, helping entrepreneurs know how to like quickly and easily make videos that can get sales, I could be doing that while walking along, while using rock climbing as like a metaphorical story for why like doing this is and using this tech is way easier than doing that. Like as long as I'm getting to the same end goal of helping my viewer do what they want to achieve, it doesn't the delivery, the format of the video doesn't have to be set in stone.
For the people watching and listening, where can they find you?
Just find me on YouTube. I think my handle is, well, just type in Greg Preece and you'll find me at the top. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'll give you links to both of those two accounts and you can put them in the description if you do that, Ollie.
Absolutely.
Um, I'm also working on a one page, like a checklist, how to make 120 video posts across 6 social media platforms in 2 hours. So if you go to one of those places in the next couple of weeks, you'll be able to download that checklist PDF as well.
One final question, actually, before I let you go.
Mhm.
Long form, short form. What's your thoughts? If someone's starting today,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's a very like, okay, I wanna create a YouTube channel. I wanna start making, obviously TikToks are short, but like
Mm.
where would you say is like worth putting your attention for someone jumping in today,
Mm.
that's like just getting started?
I'd say short form if you want to attract people with low attention spans, typically kids. Long form if you want to attract people with more patience that are going to sit down and watch a longer video. If if you're a business, people with more patience that are going to sit down and watch the video are probably more likely to be customers. So I'd go for long
Mm.
form if you're an entertainer or you just want numbers. Short form might be the quickest way to get you there.
Amazing, amazing. Greg, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute
All good, dude.
pleasure. Everyone watching, listening, go and subscribe. Hopefully, you can congratulate Greg on 100,000 subscribers by the time you get there. Also,
Thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure.
if you enjoyed this conversation with Greg, you're going to absolutely love the conversation I had with Latasha. She's another YouTuber. She runs a social. She runs a social media marketing agency as well. So go and check her out. Really interesting conversation we had.